Hello students, how are you all? Myself Sunil Pawar from New Catholic Mission Higher Secondary School Jhabwa welcome you back for the new session of 10th class science. Okay, as you know that in our previous video or the session we already finished our that chapter number 6, life processes. So now today we are going to start our new chapter, that is the how do organism reproduces. Right. This chapter is quite long. Okay. So we divided into two parts. One, that is the asexual reproduction, and second is the sexual reproduction. Right. So therefore, so in this chapter we will study about the asexual reproduction in organisms. Okay, remember the remaining part of this chapter we'll discuss in the next video. Okay, so in this one we are just going to focus only and only on asexual reproduction in organisms. Right. Okay, now as you know that you saw different organism with different lifespan and this one thing, clear? So before starting reproduction, I just want to give you the definition of this term lifespan. The period between birth and natural death of an organism is called lifespan, and it can vary from less than a day to more than 400 years, and whatever be the lifespan, death of every individual organism is a certainty. That means no organism is immortal, okay, but it is believed that these unicellular organisms are immortal because they are not going to die because of their adaptation, their mode of life, right? So we can say that they are, like you heard that amoeba is an immortal organism, that means it will never die. So what is the reason behind it? We'll try to learn also. Okay, so now with this definition and this content you come to know that what is the lifespan. Okay, the period between the birth and the death is called as lifespan. Right. So in this period we can say that it is vary from organism to organism, person to person, but species to species also. Okay, if you observe, someone live for a very short period of life and someone live for hundreds of years, right? So their lifespan is depends on their genetic constitution, okay, but it is compulsory that organism who took birth has to die. No one is immortal in nature, clear? As you know that one who took birth has to die. जिसने जन्म लिया है उसकी मृत्यु निश्चित है, clear? It is said that. Okay, so like that, if this organism is going to die and no one can replace them, then how this nature will continue, how this species will exist in this nature? Okay, so the answer of all this question is this chapter, that is the reproduction. Okay, now here the example of some lifespan is given. They're like that. This mayfly can live for 1 day, butterfly can live for 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, this wheat crop can survive, you know, that a season, that is 4 months to 6 months. A crow can survive for 15 years. A dog can also survive for 15 to 25 years. A horse can survive for 30 years. Okay, this banana tree can for 25 years. Human for 100 years. If you live a controlled life, okay, then only, of a balanced life, then only we can live even for hundreds of years. The parrot can survive for 140 years, you know that, and a banyan tree can survive for more than 400 to 500 years, clear? But ultimately that organism will die. Okay, so what happened? This death is compulsion. Okay, so to fulfill the emptiness of this organism or that individual, the new individual arrived that is because of reproduction. Okay, so in this chapter sorry, we will discuss all this aspect of the reproduction. Simply this term reproduction, it actually made of two words. One is re and second is production. Simply we can see that re means again and production means to produce. That means simply the again and again production of the same kind. Simply, okay, it's literate meaning, or producing again and again. Clear? Here the two definitions are given. Reproduction is a biological process of continuity of a race in which the grown up individuals give rise to offspring similar to them. Okay, and the second one, reproduction is a biological process in which organisms produce individuals of their own kind. Remember, in this one, the organism which already grown up is undergoes in a process of producing the new individual. Okay, and this individual of similar kind. Remember, here we are using the similar type, not the identical one. Okay, there is a difference between the identical and the similar one. Clear? Because of the sexual reproduction, because of variation. Okay, just observe your brothers, sisters, or the siblings of the same parents, then you can see that they all are quite similar. Okay, but twins are identical, right? When you compare yourself with your parents, then somewhat less similarity. When you try to match yourself with your grandmother, father, whether maternal or paternal, then somewhat less similarity. With grandmother, father, very few characters will match. That means what? When these characters are moving from one generation to next generation and next to next and vice versa, then slightly they are changing. And the changes which brought by this process is called as variation. Variation means to varies, and this variation is helpful to grow the new character in the species. It is responsible for the origin of a new species. Clear? And so many factors are there who is responsible to decide the variation, the degree of variation. Clear? Actually, this topic variation will discussed in the next chapter, that is the origin of life, or that is the organic evolution. Okay, so I am not going to discuss here, but remember this variation is observed in an individual because of two reasons. One, that is environmental changes, or the environmental factors or the physical factors are there, and second, that is the biological factor. What are the biology factor? Especially the genetic material. Okay, so these two factors are there who is responsible to decide the degree of variation in an organism or an individual. Clear? So now we are moving forward, that is the next one. Clear? In this one you can see that the two terms are given here. One is clone and second is offspring. Clear? Later we will discuss that there are two types of reproduction, in which one is asexual reproduction and second is sexual reproduction. Right? If you observe that the individuals which produced by asexual reproduction, they are identical. Clear? And the offsprings which produced by the sexual reproduction or by the involvement of two parents, they are similar but not identical with their parents. Okay, so the offsprings are basically produced by sexual reproduction and clones are produced by single parent, either of any one of two, whether male or female, it doesn't matter. Okay, so just by discussing the differences between these two, clone and offspring, you can learn it very well. Okay, so the clones are uniparental and offsprings are biparental. That means to produce the clone, a single parent is required, whether it is male or female, it doesn't matter. Okay, but for the production of offspring, two parents of opposite sex is compulsion. Clear? Compulsorily two opposite parents are required. Okay, and the clones are identical while offsprings are similar, they slightly vary than from their parents and the other offsprings of the same parents. Clear? And what is the reason I told you? The genetic composition. There is no change in the genetic composition of clone, while because of the mix up of the male and female gamete from the two different parents, it will change. Okay, so the same thing, genetically similar, and these are genetically different. Okay, in the clone only and only one type of one type of cell division is there. In your previous class, 9th class, you learn that what is the two type of cell division. One is mitotic cell division and second is meiotic cell division. Okay, so in the formation of clone, only and only which division is there? That is the mitotic cell division. Okay, while in the development of the offspring, at the time of formation of the gametes, there is meiotic cell division, and during meiotic cell division, because of the crossing over of the chromosome, some characters will change and they are responsible to bring these differences in the other offsprings. Clear? No fusion and fertilization observed in the clone because parent is directly undergoes in the process of production of the new individual, while here fertilization occurs because parents are not directly participated in. They used to produce their gametes, male and female gametes. You know that male produces sperm and female produces ova, and as a process of fertilization, means fusion of these two opposite gametes, they used to produce the zygote. Okay, the variation does not occur in the clones, while the variation occurs in the offspring, because there is no changes, no variation. That's why these clones are not important from the organic evolutionary point of view, while as we observe on the point of evolution, then these offsprings are quite important because they are responsible to bring forward the changes which they receive by the from their parents only. Okay, so remember what is the difference between the clone and offsprings. Okay, now here we are going to discuss the importance of reproduction. Okay, as you know that first of all, it enables the continuity of the species. As I told you, death is a compulsion. Okay, so to replace the previous one and to maintain the continuity of the race, this reproduction is very important. Then second, maintain life on the earth. If continuously the pre-existing will die and no one take birth, then surely this life is going to end. There is an end of the life on this earth. Okay, then this create variations among the population, which is helpful for the origin of a new species or the origin of a new character in that species. Clear? So the mechanism to produce offspring shows the large variations, and depending on the organism's habitat, its internal physiology and the several other factors too. Clear? So that means basically two factors are there. One is biological factor and second is physical factor. This physical factor includes the external surrounding, okay, and the internal factor, the biological factors is which one? That is the mutations and the interaction of the genetic material. Clear? So this is the importance of reproduction. Now here on the basis of the participation of the parents, okay, and the process of reproduction, we can divide them into two. Okay, based on the participation of one or two parents. Okay, one is asexual reproduction and second is sexual reproduction. Simply this word A means absence of involvement of sex, then it is called as asexual reproduction. Again I am repeating, A means absent. Okay, so what is the asexual reproduction? The process of producing the new individual without involvement of the sexes, that is called as asexual reproduction. Okay, then second one, that is sexual reproduction. There is involvement of the sex, in which parents are not directly participated in which, but by producing the gametes of their own, they used to produce the new individual. So this is the two type of reproduction. One is asexual reproduction and second is sexual reproduction. As in the beginning of this session I told you, in this one we are only discussing about the asexual reproduction. Okay, so here in detail we just try to learn that what is the asexual reproduction. A single parent is capable of producing offspring, thus the offsprings are genetically and morphologically identical to one another and to their parents, and these are often referred to as clone, and the unit of reproduction is commonly formed from the somatic cells of the parent. So few facts are there. Okay, so what is the first one? Only single parent is able to produce the new individual. Second fact, these are genetic, the new individual which produces, they are genetically and morphological. Genetical means genetic combination, chromosomal. Okay, and what is the morphological features? External appearance. Okay, so they are genetically and morphologically similar, identical, so therefore we call them clone. Okay, and in this one, this unit of reproduction is commonly formed from the somatic cell. As you know that there are two type of cells in our body. One is somatic cell and second is gonadal cell, or you can call the germ cell. Clear? Somatic cell who is responsible to construct your body and maintain the life, while the second is, that is the sex cells, or you call the generative cell, who is responsible to participate only and only in the reproduction. Okay, just like that, the germ cells which is present in the testis and the germ cell which is present in the ovary. Okay, so these are the two germ cells and this one. Okay, now meiosis does not occur in asexual reproduction, so there is no variation, no difference in the number of chromosome in comparison of their parents. Okay, then asexual reproduction is common among single cell organism and in plants and animals with simple organization. Remember, this is the basic feature of simple organism, whether they are unicellular or multicellular, but in multicellular their body composition should be very simple. Okay, just like that, we are complex organism. Okay, the higher plants, especially angiosperms, and these are also higher organism. Okay, so they basically used to produce the new individual by sexual reproduction only, not by the asexual reproduction. Okay, then cell division is in itself is a mode of reproduction in protist. In 9th class diversity of life you learn that there are 5 groups of the organism, in which the most primitive is considered the protist. Okay, so this protist only reproduces by the cell division, like the bacteria, monarians, amoeba, paramecium. These all are single cell or the unicellular organism which basically produces their individual by cell division only. Clear? Okay, now then here we are going to discuss the types of asexual reproduction. Okay, so basically here you observe that the 6 basic types are given. First one, that is the fission, second is budding, third is sporolation, fourth is fragmentation, fifth is regeneration, and sixth is vegetative propagation. Okay, I think so you all are familiar with this 6 type of asexual mode of reproduction. Okay, but still we will learn it in detailed way. Okay, and just also keep the example in your mind too. Okay, so first we are going to discuss the fission. Okay, fission, simply to divide. What is the literal meaning of fission? To divide by a fissure. Okay, so there are 2 type of fission. One is binary fission and second is multiple fission. Simply, what is the binary fission? The word itself giving you meaning. Binary means 2. When a fissure breaks up an organism into 2, then it is called as binary fission. Okay, then on the basis of the different plans of the fission, we can divide them further into simple binary fission, longitudinal binary fission, oblique binary fission, and transverse binary fission. Again the same thing, one cell undergoes in the division and produces the 2 daughter cell. Clear? But only on the basis of their direction of the fission or the furrow or the feature which developed in it, it will divide into this 4 categories, okay. And second, that is the multiple fission. Clear? As the name is given to this type of reproduction, that is the multiple fission, okay. That means when more than 2 individuals is produced by the process of fission, then it is called as multiple fission, okay. And remember one thing, basically binary fission takes place in the favorable condition. If I say favorable condition, it means what? There is proper availability of temperature, proper availability abundantly the food material, there is availability of right physical conditions, right, no competition is there, okay. Then that time only to increase the number they reproduces by this binary fission. While if there is abnormal condition, that means the conditions are not favorable. I think so you are familiar with this condition, just like that seasonal ponds and the rivers and this one, okay, who become totally dry in the summer season, okay. But what you observe, the life is coming back in the rainy season. So from where they come, okay. So just by adopting this mode of reproduction, they actually protecting them, okay. So this multiple fission is mainly observed to protect and to multiply them in which condition? Abnormal condition. And what is the meaning of abnormal condition? Unfavorable, when there is very high temperature, scarcity of food, no proper temperature and the no food is available, then they protected themselves with this process and multiplying them and maintain their existence. So first of all, we are discussing about the binary fission, in which the first fission is the simple binary fission. Simply when the division occurs in any plant, but it is always right angle to the elongated dividing nucleus, okay. 2 facts are there, at the right angle of the elongated dividing nucleus, then it is called a simple binary fission. And the very well known example is amoeba, because amoeba is not have any fixed shape and size, okay, because it have only a single cell membrane around it and which is not having any fixed shape, so that's why it is always changing, clear. So to perform this simple binary fission, this amoeba undergoes in the volumetric increase or expansion, it will increase in size, okay. So there is protoplasmic increase along with the nucleus, okay. Then later on this cell just slightly become elongated. At the same time, this nucleus is also become elongated and turns into this dumbbell shaped structure, okay. And then later this nucleus is breaks up from the center and it divided into 2 parts. Remember, this amoeba is one of the most simplest type of organism in which there is no fixed number of chromosomes are there, okay. So no matter whether it is divided mitotically or amitotically, clear. Now then what we learn, what is the plane of fission? Exactly at the right angle of the division of the nucleus. So nucleus divided like this, so this is the direction of the fission. So you can see that 2 daughter cells will produces at the end of this binary fission. Which fission? Simple binary fission, okay. So this amoeba is a specific example of simple binary fission. And what is the reason behind this type of fission? Because there is no any excess or there is no symmetry is observed in the amoeboidal cell, clear. So that's why this is the best way of reproducing from any point, but what is the compulsion? Exactly at the right angle of the direction of the fission of the nucleus, that is the basic feature, okay. Now we are moving forward, that is the longitudinal binary fission. So when the division occurs along the longitudinal axis of the individual, then it is called as longitudinal binary fission. And the very well known example is the euglena. In your last year classes you learn about the euglena, okay. In this euglena you can see that it is called a spindle shape in nature, okay, having this one flagellate structure, this one eye spot is there and this nucleus is there, okay. So In this process, what happened? It will form the copy of this eye spot and flagella. You can see there, it's a copy here. At the same time, this nucleus increases in size, okay, and the chromatids become clear in nature. Then one fold start to develop exactly in the center of these two copies, okay, and then what happened? It go further, and then one invagination on one furrow start to develop. At the same time, this nucleus become dumbbell shape in nature, okay. This furrow grows further and grow deep and deeper, and before this one thing, this nucleus will divide completely into two, and finally this furrow will completed, and the two individual with the similar paternal features will develop. So this is what type of binary fission? Longitudinal. Why? Because the axis of division is exactly vertical or longitudinal in nature. So this is the longitudinal binary fission. Okay. So after this longitudinal binary fission, we are going to discuss next one, that is the oblique binary fission. Clear? Oblique means what? When division occurs at an angle to the transverse axis, that means neither vertical nor transverse, any angle from the, see that this is the transverse axis, clear, except then this transverse axis, when it divided from any axis, then it is called as the oblique fission. And this, the serratium is the best known example. Again, the composition of the nucleus is very simple. It is quite simple type of organism in which this kind of reproduction is observed. Now here we are going to observe somewhat complicated one, that is the transverse binary fission. As you observe that, what is the term? Transverse. That means what? When the division occurs along the transverse axis of the individual, okay. And the good example is paramecium, diatoms in the plant, bacteria and the planaria also there, okay. I think so you are well aware of the structure of this paramecium, okay. There is no body symmetry is there, clear. Here you can see that two nuclei are present. One is macro or mega nucleus and second is micro or minute nucleus is there, okay. So what you observe, and here this is the oral hood is there and the oral aperture is there. So to maintain this one thing, first of all what happened, this structure is start to disappear. You can see that this oral groove is just become disappear, okay. And out of this two nucleus, macro and micro nucleus, macro is also start to degenerate it, clear. Then later on what happened, this one start to grow a fissure from the middle one, that means at the transverse point, okay. And then what happened, at the same time this macronucleus and micro start to expand, and finally this new oral groove will start to form in the two parts, okay. And then this contractile vacuole will start to form in the two opposite direction, and finally this nucleus divides into two structure, two micro and two macronucleus, okay. And ultimately this furrow growing further and responsible to form this two different daughter cell, okay. So this two daughter cell will develop whatever the lost part of the body, okay. Just like that, one more contractile vacuole, the remaining part likewise the mitochondria and the other content, the cytoplasmic material, they will develop and finally form the two mature daughter cell, clear. Now here we are going to discuss the next type of fission, that is the multiple fission. As I told you, this multiple fission is basically a protecting mode of life, okay. In the abnormal condition or the unfavorable condition, when the temperature is very high, no food material is available, okay, there is scarcity of water or its medium, okay. So during this period they adopt this mode of reproduction, clear. In this reproduction we can see that what happened, the division of the parent body into many daughter cells or the many daughter organism is observed. Likewise the amoeba, plasmodium, monocystis and this one thing, these all are belong to the protozoans, and mostly all of these organisms are What type in nature? They don't have any fixed body shape and size. Clear? Now, so it used to grow a hard protective thickening around it. Clear? This is called a cyst. Okay, you can see that a hard protective thickening grows around it, which is called a cyst. This cyst is protective in nature. Okay, and it made a total separation from the surrounding. Clear? So when this total separation of the total cut out from the surrounding, then what happened? At the same time, this nucleus become more concentrated, it collected in the center, okay, and then later this nucleus divided amitotically, okay, and repeated division is responsible to form a large number of nuclei. But as a part of cell division, you know that nuclear division immediately followed by the cytoplasmic division. Clear? But what happened here? Immediately after one nuclear division, it undergoes in the second nuclear division. Consecutive nuclear division is there, and they form a multinucleated body, but there is no cytoplasmic division. Okay, and then later on, a very small amount of cytoplasm is collected around the nucleus. Okay, and this way we can see that a multinucleated body is formed. Then later on, a very slight membranous structure surround this one thing, and it form a multinuclear body inside it. Clear? Now, when the favorable conditions will be back, okay, so what happened? As I told you, this protective covering is there, that is called as cyst. It used to absorb the water and moisture. It is responsible to expand. This expansion is responsible for cracking them, and one germ pore comes out, and from this one thing, this amoeba, the pseudopodial structure, what we call that is the pseudopodial structure, or we call them the pseudopodiospores. Okay, they will comes out from this one thing, and each and every pseudopodiospore will develop into the young one. Clear? So this is the basic feature of the multiple fission. Remember, two facts. One, basically it is protecting way. Second thing, at the same time more than one individual is produces, and the third one, that is it is responsible for avoiding the unfavorable conditions. Okay, so keep in your mind this one thing. Now then the second mode of reproduction, that is the budding. Clear? Okay, so actually this word bud literally means an outgrowth. Clear? Any external growth of the body, whether it is unicellular or multicellular, that is called as bud, and the process of formation of this bud is called as budding. Okay, just take a look of this definition. An outgrowth or bud develops, grows, constricts at the base and separate from the parent body. Just like the example is yeast, hydra. Okay, and the complex budded condition is called the Torula stage. Okay, where there is the formation of the complex bud, that is called as the Torula stage. Clear? Now here you can see that. Okay, I think so you remember the structure of yeast. Okay, it is unicellular in nature, right? Just recall the structure of yeast. Okay, likewise this even the other one too. Okay, now yeast is just a spherical structure. Okay, unicellular in nature. Clear? So this budding may occur in the unicellular or multicellular, but simple multicellular organism. Okay, so in this unicellular, what happened? This spherical cell will grow an outgrowth. Okay, and then what happened? The nucleus undergoes in mitotical division, and one part of nucleus is shifted in that outgrowth. Then later this constriction will form, and a smaller structure will form on that larger parental body. Clear? So this is called as bud, and this constriction will make it separate. So this daughter cell will form and it becomes separated. And sometime what happened? This daughter cell will not get separated, it will remain attached, it grows and form the new bud, and this way a chain like structure is formed, and this is called as chain budding. And sometime you may wonder that these chains become branched in nature. Okay, so from this one bud the next bud will come, and then later they grow in the form of the chain. So this way this is called as the branch chain budding. Okay, so it is a common feature in the unicellular organism. But if you observe this multicellular organism, then this hydra, it is a simple multicellular structure. Okay, now here you can see that an outgrowth will start to form at the outer surface of the body, clear, and then it will receive nucleus. Okay, and then it will grow and form a complete parental body. Okay, it is just similar to the parental body. Okay, then what happened? You can see that this constriction will grow further and this daughter individual gets separated. Okay, but in some cases, even in hydra, what happened? This bud will not be separated. It remain along with the parental body. It grow further and form a colony structure, because this parental body will also form the other buds, and this bud will develop and it will also form its own buds, because it becomes the mature one. So a complete bud, a colony of this hydra will develop as a colonial structure. Okay, so these buds are also external and internal. If you remember the structure of sponge or cycon, then you remember that its internal surface is also able to produce the bud, and that is called as the internal buds. Okay, so this is the second mode of asexual reproduction, that is the budding. Then we are going to discuss the third asexual mode of reproduction, that is called the sporolation. The formation of the spore is called as sporolation. Clear? In this one you can see that sporolation occurs by tiny single cell thin walled spores that are extremely resistant to environmental extremes, and the spores form new individual. It commonly occurs in the monarian, protists, fungi and algae. The simple unicellular or the simple multicellular type of organism, whether it is monarians or protists or fungi or algae, that means plant is there, these saprophytes are there, okay, protist is there, and the developed cells are also there. Okay, here you can see that. You remember the structure of rhizopus, okay, the blade bread mold. Okay, at your home you can see this structure. If you kept in this rainy season especially, if you expose the braid to the surrounding, then within few days, 1 or 2 days, you will observe that some black spots will appear. Okay, and then it will cover the whole braid. So what is the reason? The sporolation. The formation of the spore is called as sporolation. Okay, in this one what happened? This rhizopus body, it has this mycelium. The hyphae when become branched, okay, then it is called as mycelium. So anyway, this mycelium start to grow and they form a vertical erect body, that is called as sporangiophore. Okay, at the apical most part of the sporangiophore, they become bulbous in nature, and inner side they form a medulla, and this bulbous structure is contains the nucleus. The nucleus undergoes the repeated mitotic division and form a large number of spherical body who is surrounded by this protective covering, that is called as sporangial wall. Okay, so this structure, this bulbous structure is called as sporangium. Okay, or single is called as sporangia, and the inner minute spherical tiny uninucleated structures are called as spores. Okay, when it become mature, then it will wither away, it will be ruptured, and rupturing is responsible to release of the spores in the air. So through this air, water, it will disperses in the surrounding, and later it will grow and develop the young one. So this is the sporolation. Okay, now then here in the different organisms, these spores are of different type. Likewise the pseudopodiospores, okay, in the amoeba, where the shape of the spore is not fixed, it is like the amoeboidal structure, then it is called as pseudospore. Then the zoospores, like this chlamydomonas and elothrix, okay, they are having some locomotory organ which help them to locomote a movement, because the spores are able to locomote, so we call them the zoospores. Okay, conidia. Penicillium is the good example of this conidia. Okay, at the apex of this conidiophore, this outer spore-like structure will form in the series, and it is called as the conidia, and this one of that thread-like structure is called as conidiophore. Then we come to the gemmules. The sponges are the good example. In the inner cavity, body cavity, they will grow this unicellular structures, that is called as gemmules. Okay, now then we are moving forward for the next mode of asexual reproduction, that is the fragmentation. Okay, as the word itself giving its meaning, the formation of the fragments or the process of forming the small segments of the body is called as fragmentation. It is very common in the simple multicellular organism. Clear? It occurs by breaking of the parent body into two or more parts, and each of which grows to form an independent individual. Likewise, algae, Spirogyra, and this bryophyte like the Mertensia and the Rixia is the good example. Here, this planaria, hydra and starfish is given. Okay, you can see that because of accidentally, when this planaria divides into two, then both these two parts will develop into the new one. In hydra, again, either it become from the constriction and develop the two one. Starfish will also divide into different parts and develop into the young one. You remember that Spirogyra, that is the pond silk, okay, that thread-like structure. Because of degeneration of the middle part of it, or because of any accident, when it will divide into small fragments or segments, then each and every segment is able to grow the new linear bodies there only. So this is the fragmentation. It is a good mode of asexual reproduction. Then now we come to the next asexual mode of reproduction, that is the regeneration. Simply, re means again and generation means to generate. Clear? So it is a type of asexual reproduction in which the missing part of the organism is repaired by the proliferation of the cells. Likewise, hydra, planaria and sponges. Okay, but remember, in the lower organism, this regeneration present on such a higher degree or extent where they can form the lost part of the body. Whatever the parts is formed, each and every part will form the new individual. While as we move toward the higher category of the organism, then a very small degree of regeneration is observed. Just like that, if you may lose this part of the body, then this new part is not growing to the growing into the new one, or this one will not develop the new part. Okay, but partial regeneration of the tissue will cover and protect you. Okay, the growth of your hair, the growth of your nails, some dead cells are there. These are also the good example of the partial regeneration of the body. Okay, but in this planaria and this one thing, if you observe, that is such a good example of this one thing. Okay, in this one, if you observe, this planaria is divided into three parts: the anterior part, the middle part and the last, the posterior one. Okay, so what you observe, this anterior will develop into the whole new one. Okay, this middle will develop into the anterior as well as the posterior one, and the posterior will develop to the anterior part of the body. Okay, so this way this regeneration is observed at a higher extent in the lower organism, but partial regeneration is observed in the higher. Just like that, if you observe the asterias, the starfish, okay, if the starfish loses any one arm, then the main body will grow that lost part of the body, that is in the arm, but that arm is not growing to grow the new individual. Okay, so this is the partial one. Okay, just like that. Then the higher organism also, the hemidactylus, the house lizard. You are quite familiar with this something. When it loses its tail, then tail is not going to form the new lizard, but that lizard is capable to grow the new tail. Okay, now moving forward, that is the sixth part, that is the vegetative propagation. Clear? Vegetative propagation, that means from the vegetative part of the body, the propagation of the new individual, or in simply we can say that the process of propagating or generating the new individual from the vegetative part of the body is called as vegetative propagation or reproduction. Okay, vegetative propagation is the formation of a new plant from vegetative part like root, stem, leaf. Okay, either naturally or artificially also. Artificially means what? When there is the involvement of the human activity, that is called as artificial vegetative propagation. So like this grafting, layering, and this one, in which you know that in the modern era, these farmers are used to of these practices for the betterment of the advancement of their agricultural practices. Okay, so it is of two types, natural and artificial vegetative propagation. So first we are going to discuss the natural vegetative propagation. Okay, as you know that what are the vegetative parts, whether root, stem, or that is the leaf. Okay, so if any part, either root or leaf or stem, if undergoes in the production of the new individual, that is called as natural vegetative propagation. Just like that, roots are there, the dahlia, asparagus, and this one in the stem, this different part like the tubers, bulbs. Okay, I think so you know that. What are the tubers? The potato which you ate is the tuber. Bulb, the onion, garlic. Okay, this one, the rhizomes, that swollen part like the sweet potato, and this one thing, the corms like with the onion. Okay, suckers who go the development, runners, stolen, offsets are there like the water hyacinth and pistia, the aquatic plants. Okay, then the leaves, the very well known example is the bryophyllum. What do you call that? Is the patha chatta. Okay, it used to develop the new individual from the leaves. Then the bulbil. These bulbils are the new term for you actually. Bulbil is the new term because it is the leafy structures around the axial body. Okay, it is swollen leafy structures. It gets separated from the main plant body and develop into the new one. Okay, then this fleshy bud-like structure in the aquatic one is called as the turions. Okay, and whatever the structures who is responsible to produce the new individual by vegetative propagation is called as vegetative propagals. Okay, remember this term, vegetative propagals. It is the vegetative bodies which is responsible for the production of new individual by vegetative mode of reproduction. So now first we are taking the artificial vegetative propagation, as I told you, where the involvement of the human beings. Okay, so in which some specific methodologies are used to produce the new individual artificially. So basically these four methods are there: cutting, layering, grafting, and micropropagation. So first of all we are going to discuss the cutting. Clear? So in this method, a small piece of any part of the plant, whether it is stem, leaf, or root, okay, is just by using a sharp edge knife cut from the main part and fixed directly where in the soil. Okay, I think so you are very familiar with the rose plant at your home. Okay, what do you call? Kalam lagana. Okay, just the main stem is cutted obliquely and it fixed directly where in the soil. So this is the cutting, and it is one of the most common process. Second is the layering. Clear? In such plants like jasmine and the lychee and grapevine and this one, where the branches of the plant is quite soft in nature and they can be easily bent. Okay, so by bending these branches, okay, we just fix this by digging a small hole in the ground. Okay, and by using this artificial clamp of plastic or wooden, we fix in the soil and we again cover this part, and this apical most part of this stem is fixed with the help of this support. Okay, then after some time what you will observe that this stem will grow these adventitious roots in the ground, under the ground surface, and later on this new plant will become an individual one. So by cutting it, either you can shift it elsewhere than this one. Okay, now next one thing, the grafting. You are well aware of this method, that is the grafting. Okay, to graft, that means fixing of one part of plant on the other part of plant. Clear? So in this method, parts of the two plants are joined in such a way that they grow as one plant. and the rooted supporting portion of one plant called stalk and is joined with the twig of another plant called scion. The good example is rose, apple, plum, peach, mango and all this one thing. Okay, so you can see that here is, this is the stalk and this is the scion. Okay, this is the potted plant or the fixed plant, okay, which is actually cutted with the help of the sharp edge knife obliquely. In the same manner, the plant which we need to fix on it is also cut with the help of the sharp edge knife. Then we place this one, the scion, on the stalk, okay, and just we united them with the help of covering them either with the membranous structure, okay, either artificial membrane, rubber membrane or even the transparent tape also, and externally it can be supported with the help of the straws and then fix them with the help of the thread or the wire. So later on this tissue will grow in between and this two part become the single one, okay, and this way this part will become the part of this plant and this plant will develop the features of this shifted part of the plant. So that's why you can develop a superior quality of the variety on the same one, okay. So this is a good method that is called as grafting, okay, to grow the new varieties of the mango, okay. Sometimes you observe that on the same rose plant more than one colors of flowers are there, that is also because of this grafting. Clear? Now then we are going to discuss the final part of this one thing, that is the micro propagation. Clear? As the term gives itself the meaning, micro propagation. Micro means very small, okay. When the new individual or plant is growing by taking either a single somatic cell or a group of cell or a part of plant, okay, to grow the new individual, that is called as the micro propagation. Clear? This method includes the propagation of plant by culturing the cells, tissue and organs in laboratory, which is called tissue culture. Remember this term, tissue culture. Initially this form an undifferentiated mass of cells which is called as callus. Again the second term callus is there, or the callus, an unorganized mass of the cell which develop from the single cell or the group of cell, okay, and on this callus differentiated into the different plantlets to grow the new one. So here this method is given. What to do? First of all, you need to take a test tube, okay, clean it, sterilize it, fill it with the artificial cultural medium, okay, place one tissue paper or cotton layer, okay, and then just place that small part of the tissue or the few cells, okay, and covered it with the help of the cotton plug. So it will allow to exchange the gases but doesn't allow to enter the infectious content in it, okay. Maintain the normal temperature and pressure and motivate it to divide, okay. So it will start to divide and produce the new cell. So it will form an unorganized mass of the cell, that is called as callus, okay. So either by cutting this callus into small parts, you can directly fix them into the soil and grow the new one, or you can allow it to grow further and it will turns into the developed or the mature plant which can be fixed into the earthen pot or the ground surface, okay. So at the same time a large number of copies can be made by using this micropropagation, okay, or any new variety which develop having single individual only. So without using the second parent or the other parent, a large thousands of copies, identical copies can be made. So restore the parental character in the single offspring or the formation of the new individuals of the same species is used to produce by this micropropagation. Clear? Now in this one you know that this identical copies are actually produced by this asexual reproduction, okay, and this grafting, this micropropagation, okay, layering, and this all type methods are there which used to grow a large number of individual. So finally I want to thank you for this session, and I hope so you learn all such facts. So just go through this video twice and thrice, and also through that PDF content which is provided by the school, okay. So wish you all the best. do well. Thank you.